The Princess in Black and the Bathtime Battle by Shannon and Dean Hale. Read to you today by Gammy. Princess Magnolia was in the castle kitchen designing a bridge. She placed cups upside down for supports. She balanced spoons and forks on top. She held her breath, but they all tumbled down. Too many forks and not enough supports. She would have liked to start over. "Well, that stinks," said Princess Magnolia. Just then, an alarming smell floated through the window. Princess Magnolia stuck out her tongue. "No," she said, "that stinks." She checked her glitterstone ring. It wasn't ringing. No monster alarm, just an alarming smell. This smelled like a problem for the Princess in Black. A few minutes later, the Princess in Black and Blackie were galloping away from the castle. "Do you smell it too, Blackie?" she asked. Blackie sneezed. He most definitely smelled it, and he preferred to never smell it again. They followed the odor all the way to the goat pasture. The goats were gagging. The goats were gasping. A squirrel was turning green. "I'm glad you've come," said the goat avenger. "We've got trouble." "It sure smells like trouble," said the Princess in Black. The goat avenger kicked the cloud of stench. "We can't battle it, Princess in Black." She punched the cloud of stink. "Our ninja moves do nothing, Goat Avenger." "Yeah!" the Goat Avenger shouted. He kicked the stink harder. His foot passed through it. He fell on his bum. Blackie neighed. He switched his tail. "Great idea, Blackie," said the Princess in Black. She opened her fan. She fanned her fan at the smell. "It's working," said the Goat Avenger. The stench floated way up to the south. At last, the pasture air was stink-free. The goats cheered. The Princess in Black and the Goat Avenger had saved the day. Princess Snapdragon was trimming the bushes in her garden. She loved the sunny spot. She relished a blooming scene. She savored the scent of flowers. Suddenly, a stink blew into the garden. The roses sagged and the lilies curled up. The bluebells turned green. Her pet dragon, Moonwhistle, crouched behind the buttercups. She covered her snout. "Oh, Moonwhistle," said the Princess Snapdragon. "This odor is alarming. I wish I could make it go away." Moonwhistle hopped up. She pointed a wing at the garden shed, where they had kept their secret disguises. "You're right, Moonwhistle," said Princess Snapdragon. "We prepared for this day. It's time at last." Together they flew into the shed. When they flew out, they were no longer Princess Snapdragon and Moonwhistle the dragon. They followed the stench out of their kingdom. They followed the stink right into the goat pasture. "Wow," said the Goat Avenger, "another mass hero." "It is I, Flower Girl," said Flower Girl. She tossed a handful of rose petals. It was a nice touch. "And this is my faithful companion, Horsefly, the Pegasus." "Always nice to meet another hero," said the Princess in Black. She was out of breath from all the fanning. Princess in Black?" said the Flower Girl. "You are fanning that horrible smell to the south. And to the south is Princess Snapdragon's kingdom." "Oh no, that stinks," said the Princess in Black. "It certainly does," said the Goat Avenger, wrinkling his nose. "Perhaps we can chase the smell away with flowers," said the Flower Girl. Horsefly landed on the grass, and Flower Girl handed out bouquets of roses. The heroes and animals batted their bouquets at the stink. It slithered way to the west. Now the day was saved, thanks to the three heroes and their faithful companions. Princess Honeysuckle was dancing in her courtyard. She loved a flying leap. She relished a low crouch. She savored the joy of the dance. Suddenly, she heard cries of alarm. "Fursuit, what's happening?" she asked her pet wolf. Fursuit whined. In the courtyard trees, the songbirds were gasping. The songbirds were gagging. A bluebird turned green. "What a horrible stench," said Princess Honeysuckle. "Fursuit, I think it might be time." Fursuit smiled and Wolf smiled. The princess and Wolf sneaked into the gazebo. They put on disguises, then they rode straight to the goat pasture. "It is I, Cartwheel Queen." Cartwheel Queen did a cartwheel. It was a very good cartwheel. "And this isn't a wolf, this is my dog. His name is Good Boy." Good boy bark. It was a pretty good bark. Always nice to meet a new hero, said the Princess in Black. We followed a terrible odor all the way from Princess Honeysuckle's kingdom in the west, said Cartwheel Queen. Do you know where it's coming from? The three heroes smiled sheepishly. The goat smiled goatlishly. We must have sent it there, said Flower Girl. How to get rid of this smell, said Cartwheel Queen. She did another cartwheel. Cartwheels helped her think. Your cartwheel gave me an idea, said the Goat Avenger. Cartwheel Queen helped him fetch the goat's summer fan. They set it by the hole to Monsterland and pointed it up. The fan's blade spun as fast as a cartwheel. The wind from the fan pushed the stink into the clouds. And now, at last, the day was saved. Thanks to 4 brave heroes and their fearless companions. Princess Orchid was trying out the new zip line she built in the village playground. She loved a good swoosh. She relished a thrilling ride. She savored the swooshing of the wind. Then she zip-lined right through a cloud of stink. Ah, said Princess Orchid, falling down. All around her, children were gagging. Children were gasping. One boy turned green. It was the smelliest smell anyone had ever smelled. Help, said a little girl. It's so gross. The smell, said a little boy, falling to his knees. The smell. I'll fix this, said Princess Orchid. Somehow. Princess Orchid zip-lined back to her castle. Not a moose. Princess Orchid called out to her reindeer, who was not a moose. Not a moose followed her into the workshop. Princess Orchid whispered into her fur-tipped ear, the time has come. Not a moose nodded. She slipped socks shaped like bunny ears over her antlers. They spotted the stinky trail going up into the clouds. It came down again at the goat pasture, where a whole bunch of heroes were standing around a hole and a pan. It is I, Miss Fix-It, said Miss Fix-It, and this is my faithful companion, Doom Rabbit the bunny. Doom Rabbit nodded. Her sock ears flopped up and down. I guess you've come from the north, said Cartwheel Queen, where there was a horrible smell, said the Goat Avenger. And you've come to stop it, said the Princess in Black. Yes, exactly, said Miss Fix-It. We tried to push the stink up, said Flower Girl. But what goes up must come down, said Miss Fix-It. And it came down into into Princess Orchid's kingdom. The Goat Avenger turned off the fan, and the stink once again settled on the goat pasture. The goats whimpered. One fell over with his hooves in the air. If it were a monster, I'd know what to do, said Princess in Black. How do you fight a stink? Down in Monsterland, the monsters were groaning. The monsters were griping. A blue monster turned turquoise, all because of one extremely stinky monster. Usually, monsters enjoyed a good stink. They liked the moldy, dark corners of caves. They enjoyed rotten fruit. Above all, they adored the odor of goats. But the stinky monster was too much. Rotten fruit smushed between his toes. Garbage clung to his back. Who knew what that stuff was on his head? There was even a tiny monster tangled in his filthy fur. It had been stuck there since last week. 2 big-nosed monsters could not stand it anymore. They plugged their faces. They grabbed the stinky monster and they jumped up right out of Monsterland. The big-nosed monsters dropped the stinky monster into the goat pasture. They wiped their paws on the grass and they didn't even try to eat the goats. They just jumped back into Monsterland as fast as they could go away from that stinky monster. The heroes struck battle poses. The stink was a monster after all. And there it sat in the goat pasture, being stinky. The stinky monster chewed on a dirty claw. It waved. At last we can fight the stink, said the Princess in Black. As soon as the monster says, eat goats, let's wage battle. The stinky monster burped. The Goat Avenger said, you may not eat the... Wait, said the Princess in Black. It didn't say eat goats yet. All it said was burp. Cartwheel Queen plucked her nose. A stinky burp, she said. Back burp, Flower Girl shouted. She fanned her bouquet at the burp. Yes, let's try some battle cries, said the Princess in Black. Behave, beast. The stinky monster wiped his nose on the back of his paw. Back, Back to your internal pit, said the Goat Avenger. The stinky monster scratched under its armpit. A goat gagged. You may not gag the goat, shouted Miss Fix-It. The stinky monster lay down on its back. It watched the clouds float by. Monster? Said the Princess in Black. The stinky monster plucked goo from his ear. It brushed the goo through his head fur. How do we fix this? Asked Miss Fix-It. The princess in blankets and her unicorn, Corny, trotted into the goat pasture. She had come for a hero princess playdate. The pasture was the perfect place for the playdate. Sunshine, grassy slopes, and fresh air. And sometimes monsters came out of the hole so they could wage battle. Hooray! There was a monster in the pasture today, and more friends. She waved. The princess in blankets, she started to shout, but then the stink cloud hit her. "Arr!" she said, toppling off Corny's back. What happened to all the fresh air? Washcloths spilled off of her hat. Miss Fix-It picked them up. Said Miss Fix-It. What if we give the monster a bath? The hero princesses all said together. The Goat Avenger would have said it too, but he was running to fetch a goat's tub. Stinky monster was stinkier than a full litter box. It was stinkier than a clogged toilet. It was stinkier than a pile of dirty diapers on a hot summer day. The stinky monster was so stinky, it was more stink than the monsters. The heroes were armed with washcloths and scrub brushes, water buckets and goat soap, and one big goat-sized tub. But the stink was too gross. The stink is too gross, said the princess in blankets. They couldn't get near the monster. We can't even go near the monster, said Flower Girl. The princess in black pointed to the tub. Monster, you need a bath, she said. No, said the monster, no bath. Behave, me, said Cartwheel Queen, and get in the tub. No bath, said the monster. Udders and moo cows, said the princess in blankets. What can we do? The Goat Avenger took a deep breath and then ran into the stink cloud. He said, "Ow!" Then he said, "Ow!" And then he fainted from the smell. The princess in black hooked the Goat Avenger's ankle with a rope. She pulled him back to safety. Heroes, she said, none of us can do this alone. We need support. We need to work together. We can't get near it, said Miss Fix-It. So maybe we can watch it from a distance. A big distance, said Flower Girl. So they made a plan from a big distance. Ready? Said Miss Fix-It. Flower Girl leaped into Horsefly's back. Cartwheel Queen put her hands up, ready to cartwheel. The princess in black and the princess in blankets aimed the hoses. Now, said Miss Fix-It. The Goat Avenger turned on the water. Cartwheel Queen cartwheeled around the monster, spraying soap as she went. From above, Flower Girl dropped bath bombs. The monster roared. It was a huge, bubbly, soaking, wet mess. The stink wasn't gone, but it was better than before. Now the heroes could get closer. No bath, roared the monster. Yes, bath, said Princess in Black. Eat bath, roared the monster. It swallowed the water and some of the soap. It took a bite out of the tub, and it burped up a bath bomb. You may not eat your bath, said the Princess in Black. And so the heroes and the stinky monster waged bath time. Soapy slip. Water plash. Twinkle, twinkle, little splash. The heroes didn't stop until there was no more stinky monster. Now it was a fluffy monster. It was the fluffiest fluff of a monster the heroes had ever seen. Oh, it's so cute, said Flower Girl. Fluffy monster sniffed its fur. It snuffled its armpits. It sighed a sigh of relief. So did the tiny monster, finally untangled from the funky fur. Oh, they're the cutest, said the Flower Girl. The monster sniffed the air. Now that the stink was gone, they could smell the goats. Goats, said the tiny monster. Eat goats, said the fluffy monster. The heroes struck battle poses. You may not eat the goats, they said. They were a lot of heroes. The monsters looked at each other and they shrugged. Okay, said the tiny monster. Bye-bye, said the fluffy monster. And together they jumped back into Monsterland. Whew, said the princess in black. I never could have watched the stinky monster all by myself. That was a situation too stinky for one single hero, said the Gold Avenger. Yes, it's good to have support, said the princess in blankets. How can we find you all if we need your help again? I have an idea, said Miss Fix-It. She showed them a small pink stone. I discovered that when I shine a light through it, a pink sparkle twinkles up the sky. I have a stone just like that, said the princess in blankets. Princess Sneezewort gave it to me. I got one from Princess Honeysuckle, said Cartwheel Queen. Mine was a gift from Princess Orchid, said Miss Fix-It. And I have one from Princess Snapdragon, said Flower Girl. It's wonderful, said the princess in black. How many princesses and heroes are friends? All of my friends are princesses and heroes, said the Gold Avenger. Also goats. And a really interesting squirrel. Squeak, said the squirrel. Whenever we need help, said Princess in black, we can shine a light into a stone, and the sparkle signal will show up in the sky. Who knows, said the princess in blankets. Maybe there are even more heroes out there. Maybe they'll see it too. The end. We have so much more to learn and to grow. Be blessed. A Last Goodbye by Ellen Kelsey.
Read to you today.
By Gammy.
At school,
when it comes time to